Hey, this is Mike. I'm sitting on my front porch swing, just relaxing at the end of the long day. And I was thinking about one of my clients today that I'd had recently that was telling me the reasons why they didn't feel comfortable to invest. And I just want to talk a little bit about investing in risk and what people invest in, because we all invest in something. I get often people tell me they don't want to invest in real estate because with real estate you have to fix toilets, and that's the common thing that's said. Or you have to collect rent, or you have to evict tenants, or you have to go find new tenants. Then people don't want to invest in the stock market because the stock market's risky, and the stock market's up today, down tomorrow. They call it a gambling casino. You hear that on the radio quite often, and people buy into the lies that they hear often repeated. Usually those lies are attached to some product that somebody is trying to sell. Then also people complain they don't want to buy a business and invest in businesses because 9 out of 10 businesses fail, not taking into account the fact that they could go buy businesses that are already functioning, that have a proven track record of years of producing positive cash flow, and that are established. And maybe it's just a motivated seller. Maybe the person is wanting to retire. Maybe they had a death in the family, or maybe they got a terminal illness. Who knows? Maybe they had a divorce, or they had a bad partnership in the business that broke up, and they need to sell because they can't get along with each other and work together anymore. There's a whole range of reasons why people want to sell a business or sell their house, their property, a commercial real estate. But people come up with excuses. A lot of people say, I really want to be wealthy, or I want to create wealth, I want to be financially free, I want to be out of debt. But when it comes down to it, they put excuses in place that prevent them from being able to accomplish the things that they say that they really want in life. And the reality is, as I said a moment ago, we all invest. Everybody invests in something. We invest money in our clothes, in our houses, our cars, entertainment items, electronics, trips, vacations, vacation homes, boats, a whole range of things that we invest in. And the reality is, most of the things that people invest in all across the United States and around the world are things that go down in value. They are depreciating pieces of property that bring no cash flow to them and will add no real value to increase their net worth or to help them be more close to being financially free and being able to create true wealth. The wealthy invest in assets. They invest in things that are going to build them long-term value that they can pass on to their family and that will sustain them when when they're ready for retirement. So they don't have to depend on Social Security. They don't have to depend on some little pension fund or a 401k. They build wealth-producing assets, and those wealth-producing assets can continue to produce that wealth indefinitely as long as they're managed well. And that's one of the values of investing. So we all invest, and to say that you don't want to invest or you're not willing to take risk is really kind of foolish. We all take risks in relationships. We choose to love and to be loved, and it always has a risk of loss. We take risks in a whole range of areas of our life, but when it comes to actually doing something to build financial freedom, sorry about that, that bug, I don't even know what it was, tried to fly in my mouth. When it comes to trying to build financial freedom, when it comes to creating wealth and really securing our future, it seems like we just become paralyzed and aren't willing to do that. So here's something I want to leave with you to think about. You are investing already, and you are taking risks. Some risks larger than others. You took a risk in your career, a bigger risk than putting money into buying in assets that produce wealth and that can give you financial freedom. A bigger risk is trusting your employer to not fire you, trusting your employer to actually have a job and not go out of business, or to not have to lay you off, or to cut your pay, or to get in a fight with someone and you find that you can no longer work there because you can't get along with the people around you, or that you don't get a management change, and the people that come in are toxic in how they treat you and the other employees. You have no idea what kind of things will take place, and trusting that that's going to be the security for your future, that's far more risky than actually doing something where you can control it. You control nothing at your employment. The only thing you control is getting up and being on work at time, doing your work well, and then leaving work when the day is done. The reality is that if you build in your own investments, cash-producing, wealth-producing investments, you control the outcome. You control the process. You control what you're investing in, how you're using your money and time, and that is far less risky than working for somebody else at a job. So remember, you are investing, you are taking risks, risks that are larger than what you're going to take with investing. Now, I would never recommend someone to invest whether in businesses, real estate, commercial or residential, or in the stock market with money they need to eat with, money they need to live on. So you need to be able to budget yourself so that you can build a surplus in your budget. I talk about this a lot of my courses. This is very important. You need to budget for a surplus, and that surplus gets allocated. It's not just a surplus sitting there. You're going to zero out that budget every month so that you automatically are moving that money you budgeted, that surplus, into an investment savings account. And then you take, it could be a high yield money market, could be just a checking or savings. There's a number of things you could do with it, but you want it liquid, and you want it something that is going to be stable, secure. You can put it in CDs, depending on how long it is. You're going to be saving this money, but you're going to be saving this money, this surplus, so that you can buy your next asset, and that asset then will produce cash that you will combine with your surplus in your budget, and together that will make it so that you can buy the next asset faster. And then it collapses the time with each new asset that you buy that are cash flowing assets, true assets, not things people think are assets, like your home or a car or a boat or a vacation or a vacation home. Those things aren't true assets. Those are liabilities, things you have to continue to pay on if you want to be able to keep them. Otherwise, they will eat you if you don't continue to pay for them. So you want to get true cash flowing producing assets. And remember that if you invest in those things, you control the outcome. You control what happens. So you need to educate yourself. So you can mitigate or minimize those risks. Certainly, you need to be intelligent about what you're doing, and that's a vital, important part of it. And the more intelligent you become financially, the better, and understanding the different types of investments and how to do it successfully, what are the right principles, the more successful you're going to become, and the less risk you're going to actually take on. So the reality, I've told my clients for years as a stockbroker that what I would tell them when they would ask me, is this investment risky, or is this a good investment? I would tell them, I don't believe there's a good or bad investment unless someone is unethical or illegal, like Bernie Madoff. I mean, the things he wanted people to invest in were bad investments, not because the investments themselves would have been bad, but because what he was doing was bad. He was untrustworthy, and anyone that put their money with him, they were going to lose that money. And it proved that, and we have his name infamous, and it puts a black eye on all the financial industry as a result. But here's the reality of what what I've told people is that I don't believe there's good and bad investments. I don't believe that there are risky or non-risky investments. Reality. I know you can classify them that way, but here's what I say. What is a good investment for you may be a very terrible investment for somebody else. What is not risky for you may be horribly risky for somebody else. In the same way, something that I don't find is risky, something that I find is an outstanding investment, you may, with a high return and little risk, for you, it may be terribly risky because you may not understand the principles involved. You may not understand how to manage it. You may not have the cash flow able to absorb any potential loss that could come from it or any of life's eventualities. So risk and the value or quality of whether it's good or a bad investment really has a lot to do with the investor, not as much the investment. People take things that you would think would be a horrible investment, and they take them and make loads of money and get wealthy on it. This is kind of the basis of collection agencies. So they buy bad debt. And you would think that's horrible investments because it's people that either don't pay or they have a very high likelihood that they won't pay. And individuals build whole businesses and become millionaires with debt collection agencies because they buy bad debt for pennies on the dollar, and then they turn around and collect it, and they pocket all the cash and after they cover their overhead. And so there's simple principles. Just because you think it's a bad bad investment doesn't make it a bad investment. Just because it's risky to you doesn't mean that it is necessarily a really risky investment. You really determine, you as the person, you as an individual, your knowledge, your financial education, your financial abilities will really determine whether or not it's a good or bad investment, whether it's risky or not risky for you. So the more intelligence you gain financially, the better you're able to mitigate or minimize that risk and the impact that it could have on you, because you're better able to manage those investments. I like what Warren Buffett says. I've quoted often. He says, the more you learn, the more you earn. And there's a great truth to what he had to say there. So just remember, you are already investing. Everybody's investing in something. Why not try investing in things that are going to be cash flowing, wealth producing assets, things that are going to give you true financial freedom, things that you can control the outcome and the process with, and rather than worrying and trusting that somebody else is going to employ you and keep you employed and going to pay you well and deal with the headache that happens in corporate America and in fighting through a career growth, working for somebody else, and not owning anything at the end of the day as a result of it. You're simply building their wealth, their ownership, their assets instead of your own, and trusting that your 401k and Social Security is going to be sufficient to feed you. Don't trust in those things. Build your own wealth. Take it in your own hands and your own charge. Take initiative. With my last video was about taking initiative, and this is part of the importance of what I'm talking to you about. You are investing, so invest it in the kind of things that are going to pay off for you, not only immediately, but also in the long term.